Hello, this is Terry from Fabric Junction, and I'm here today to show you our next block number 2 in our Marcus Fabric Batiks, our beautiful batiks, quilt blocks with the radiant reflections. So those of you that are doing the real brights, called the radiant reflections, these are the fabrics you'll be working with this month. And again, I have them all tagged and hopefully easy for you to recognize. And then the River Rock group. And it is the River Rock group that I will be putting together today. Now our block today, I'll show you in the radiant reflections. The large one is up at the top, and the smaller one gets placed down here in the corner. See if I can get it. There we go. And hopefully the iron and stuff is not in the road, but here is our smaller one, and then here is the spacers that you cut for this month. Here's our version of the River Rock. This is the larger one, and all the blocks have the same design, and that's what we'll walk through today. So once you have cut all your squares, and once again I recommend leaving them as squares because very seldom do we need to cut them into triangles. But once I have all my pieces cut, the first thing I do is I put my spacer together. And as you can see this time it's just a series of 5 blocks. This spacer will actually go on top of the smaller block, as you saw in the corner. Something I need to let you know when we're adding the spacers, this one actually, our seam allowances will line up with the block. Now if I have Christopher move with me just a second so I can show you one of the other spacers. Yeah, like right here, when this one was attached to the block, there was nothing to line up. So don't panic if your section of spacers does not line up right in these areas. As long as you get them balanced, that's okay. So I don't want you to panic because last month the spacer did not line up, and so I want to make sure that you know that they don't always have to line up, and it'll be okay. Anyway, once you get your spacers done, move them aside, and then you'll notice you'll have a stack of 3 squares of a variety of colors. Number 8s, number 7s, number 4s. These are for the border. And you start cutting your border pieces every month, so you don't have to do them all at the end. And what I do is I take those, stack them, I set them aside so that I don't mix them up with the pieces that I want to put together for my block. Now these are the pieces that we're going to use for our block. And what I do is I'm going to start kind of setting a few of them out, but to let you know, those will go there, those will go there, that what I want you to do first is put all your half square triangles together. And as you can see, I've already done some. I'll do one as a reminder on how we make our half square triangles, but you'll put your 30s and your number 9s together and create 4, and you'll have a 14 and a 6. And you'll put together 8 of those. Now if I move my numbers, and the method I like when I'm doing a small project like this is I use my seam marker. I line it up. Sometimes I line up right in the point, sometimes I over, as long as I get that yellow line to cross over those points. Once I do, I take my pencil and I put a fine line on both sides, which I have already done. I line my 2 pieces up. Now when I do them all, I mark them all at the same time, and then I come over and sew in a chain fashion. So now I'll sew. And I would keep sewing, and when I get to the end, get off of the piece, I lift and I just take the last one and go back the other direction, one after the other. Then I cut. Let's see. This time I'll cut this way. Sometimes I scissor cut, sometimes I rotary cut. Just depends on what I have handy. So I cut my piece. I have the two. And now I tend to press to the dark, decide which one is dark. Press. And press. Cut off my dog ears. And then you'll have all your half square triangles ready. And as I get my pieces, sometimes I like to go through and actually start putting them together. Lay them out where they belong. I know my threes go in the middle here. And I have to say, one really nice thing about batik is if we happen to get one turned the wrong direction, not wrong direction, excuse me, upside down. Batiks are so similar on the right and the wrong side that sometimes we can't tell when we get one upside down. And in the corner, and if I remember, let me check, the dark goes inward. So I know that points to the center. So I get all those laid out. And my lights point to each other. Oops. I get those going. Point to each other. There we go. Double check. Get rid of my number 14. I reuse my numbers. So there we go. It works nice when I get a sticky. And I just did this one so I can place them. So I need to do the center. Okay, number 30. Actually, the block we're going to do looks like this. This is one of the few times in which we actually have to cut our two pieces. Number 30 is our center. And let me see, 26 goes outward, I believe. Let me double check my picture. 26, 27, the light goes in, the dark goes out. That's the way I remember. It goes in towards the center, dark goes out. So now I can remove my sticky on 26 and 27. And these two I do have to cut in half. Like I said, that one of the few times in which I have to cut it in half to create the triangle, to create this particular block, which actually is a square and a square. So I cut. This one's my center. Now the next thing I do, because I'm dealing with all these little pieces and those triangles, I go to my iron and I mark, I fold it in half, and I do just a little press on each side. So that gives me center. And I do the same thing with my little pieces. I flip it over, I mark my center. So I stand here and do this little, just enough so that I know that is center at the base of my triangle. Now it's time to sew. Since I can see the fold, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but I can see the fold, I can see my little press indentations. I line the two of them up. I hold it. The nice thing about batiks, they do like to hang on to each other. Sew it. And then we want the opposite color on the opposite side. So I do both sides first. Now I press these open. Trim off the dog ears again. And then I fold in half, and I am lining up the whole thing. Since I pressed outward, I fold in half so that I can line up the center square. And again, just a little one on each side to give me my center. And then it doesn't make any difference which one you do first or second, because it won't affect the outcome of the block. But I make a habit of whichever color I sewed first, which was the purple, I generally pick that one up first to do it again. But if you do the other one, it's not going to affect the end of the block. Okay, line up. Press it open again. Remove our dog ears. As I'm doing that, I kind of check to make sure I have my 1/4 inch. So I have plenty there that I won't be cutting off the tips of that when I sew. The light goes inside, and there's how our block lays out. So like I've showed you in the past, once I have my blocks laid out, I start on the left side. I take the second column and I flip it over and I start to sew. Now on this one here, if you pressed all these to the same direction, which I pressed to the dark, the two of those will line up on each other. Those two seams will just naturally want to line up on each other. And that makes it real easy for us to match things up. Whenever I can, like in this one, I'm going to want to go across that intersection right there. Sometimes you'll have one on the top and one on the bottom. You'll just have to kind of judge it or pin it, that you can pin it to match the two. Okay, let's get going. We got our block laid out. We can get it put together. Get to the end, and I start back at the top. I open up and I grab my next one. And I always grab from the side and flip it so that the sewn side will line up where it belongs. So I always want to make sure I grab from the opposite side that I'm going to stitch. And if you get in that habit of flipping it over and stuff, you won't have to think quite as hard. Now, which side do I stitch? But you open up, grab from the side, Okay, now I would like you to continue to do that. Keep working on these, starting at the top. Grab your next one and keep sewing in the same fashion that I have shown you. When you're done, you can open it up and check to make sure. Do you have them all going the right direction? Because once in a while I do get one twisted. So I double check, and then I just flip these over and line up my seam allowance, and I sew the other direction, and my block is done. In this particular case, on this month, once the block is done, as you can see you have 5, come back and sew your spacer, and these will line up with each one of these seam allowances. I hope you're enjoying our block of the month, and check with us again next month for block number 3. Thank you for watching us here at junctionfabric.com.